And that's no fault to their own. And even on the south side.
Not everyone has the energy like you do.
Orange Theory.
That's it. They actually sponsored this episode.
Club Pilates. Are you serious?
No.
You're sponsored by Orange Theory. Thank you.
Welcome to the Lalez Report, a special edition. We have the president of the Chicago Association of Realtors, Sarah Ware, with us today. Hello. Designating managing broker of Ware Realty Group and president of the Chicago Association of Realtors, she has been in the real estate industry for 15 years and has come here to hash out some of the biggest cultural topics facing the greater Chicagoland area. Thank you for...
It's a lot of cultural topips, but we'll challenge maybe some.
No, we're going to actually fix...
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to fix everything.
Oh, well, I'm
Just
running for mayor. This
Yeah.
is I came here to announce my... I'm throwing my hat in the ring. Yes.
Yeah, love it. Is there anything we should know about Sarah Ware that the general public doesn't know already?
Personal or professional?
Get really personal.
I'm a Southsider, born and raised on the South Side of Chicago, and I'm true to my South Side roots. And there are certain South Side isms that we won't get into here. I don't want to quiz you on those because...
What are you trying to say?
I'm not trying to say anything. I'm saying it. So I don't want to quiz you.
Give me one.
Which Harold's Chicken do you go to?
I don't go to Harold's Chicken.
Thank you. See, there we so we're already.
Yeah. No.
Do you even know?
Yeah, there's Harold's Chicken on the north side, just so you know.
Yeah, I know. And we always cringe like, oh, that's cute. They're trying to do that.
Why? I mean, Harold's Chicken, they want my business.
They want money.
It's funny. We're already talking about black business versus white business. Let's just talk about it for, I think.
Let's just talk about it.
Can I get some disclaimers out of the way?
Yes,
I'm gonna make some mistakes, and none of them are meant on purpose.
Exactly.
I am who I am, and I apologize in advance for ruffling feathers if we get there. But I want to be able to talk freely, especially to someone like you who is in a position of power at the Chicago Association of Realtors. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake.
So I want to give a disclaimer too. Also, Ben is a very nice guy, and he is saying things because he is curious. And I'm always open for somebody who's asking to learn, as opposed to asking to criticize.
I know a big thing, now is it's not anyone's responsibility to teach me. I should be learning on my own, etc.
Well,
However,
sometimes everything you can't learn on your own.
Yeah.
It's just like real estate.
And I want to be able to talk openly. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Harold's Chicken. That's where we're starting.
That's where we're starting.
Black people on the South Side are cringing because us North Siders, white people,
you're not ordering correctly.
We're not ordering correctly.
That's just first.
Why aren't we ordering correctly? What's going on?
Like if you're ordering fried chicken, what would you order? Like you would look at the menu.
First of all, does it look like I eat fried chicken, Sarah?
Well, what's this?
All right, I would go in and I would say, I want like a white meat meal with some sides or something like that. Or I would look at the menu and say, I want that.
4 wings, ketchup and mild sauce, fried hard, salt and pepper, and my sauce on the side, extra mild sauce.
All right, let me ask you a question. You go into a Jewish deli, how would you order?
That's true.
Just saying, it's the same thing.
I would look at the menu
and point.
And probably ask them what do people order here? That's usually,
Are you ready for mine?
I am.
Everything bagel, toasted twice, salmon, no capers, matzo ball soup on the side. That's it.
And I like that because I think this shows that we all have biases.
It's the same
no matter,
thing.
Where we come from. And I think from a cultural standpoint, we all are true to our culture. And we love it. We both love it. And sometimes I think people take that out of context.
Yeah.
As opposed to calling it something else and then just identifying that we love the culture. And so now I know how to order a bagel. Now, what is it toasted twice?
Yeah, that's where you get it's crispy. I like it when you have on an everything bagel, it kind of burnt on the outside. So all of the everything kind of crunches.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. You know what? That's what we should do. That should be the next piece of content is you take me to a black restaurant that I would never go to.
Well, maybe not a black, let's just say.
A place where you don't see a lot of white people.
Okay. I'll take that. Okay.
Yeah. I'll take you to a Jewish deli like Kaufman's, and I think that
Manny's wouldn't count.
No, Manny's counts. Manny's counts.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah, I want the neighborhood. That's a touristy. You want to go somewhere.
You want to go to Max and Benny's. Have you ever heard of that? It's in the suburbs.
Isn't that a show, some TV show? No?
I don't know. It's on the North Shore. So you were on the Real Estate Moguls podcast, and you said that you started getting interested in real estate by reading the listing page in
Yes.
the newspaper.
The newspaper. Remember the newspaper?
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, the newspaper is this thing that came to your house, and it was a actual paper that you would read.
Yes. Thank you. We get a history lesson too. But tell us how you go from reading that to, the president of the Chicago Association of Realtors.
It wasn't a dream of mine. Like, I want to be the president one day. It was not. It didn't come to fruition like that. That's not how it evolved.
So, I'm sure. I basically just asked you your life story, but from
Yes. In 2 minutes or less.
Yeah, from a professional perspective.
Okay.
Just give me like the bullet points. This happened, then
Yes.
this happened. Like
So
if I wanted to be
traditionally-
the president, what would I have to do theoretically?
Our paths would probably be different, and that's what the beauty of it is. I think everyone needs to chart their own path, whether it's presidency or not. Mine was not presidency. After high school, I didn't traditionally go to college. Went to work, was in corporate for about 15 plus years. Worked for a brokerage for 2 years in Wicker Park. Opened a business with a business partner, and was invited to the Chicago Association of Realtors annual gala to install the new president. I'd never gone to an event or any. I was like most agents, get emails and ignore them.
Yeah.
I think I may have unsubscribed at one point.
Yeah.
But went, and I was like, wow, they were all dressed up. I didn't know what was happening. And so Zeke Morris, who's a mentor that many people know, he's a past president. He actually invited me to come to the office with him as presidency when we were at another location, we being the realtors. And so he took me down how to sign checks, and this is what the role of the president does. I still wasn't.
So he kind of tapped you and said, hey, you should think about this.
He tapped me without me knowing I was being tapped.
I think that's the best way to tap.
Right, because I think now if you do it for the guts, glory, fame, I think it's not authentic.
Yeah, he wanted to lead you to it to see if
Right.
it's something that you would connect with and latch onto.
Right.
Got
Then
it.
I found out that realtors are the largest PAC, political action committee. Out, when they go to DC, they raise the most money.
I have some just curiosities because
Yes.
right, we've spoken a few times now.
Yes.
But we haven't had true professional conversation.
We have not.
I'm curious, what is the relationship between Chicago Association of Realtors and NAR National Association?
So NAR Illinois falls under we all fall under the National Association of Realtors. They are trade organizations, and so when you look at your dues, there are 3 payments: National Association, Illinois, and Chicago, or whatever association you may choose in the state. With that, there are you can use a trademark, the trademark R,
Yep.
and then you practice a code of ethics, because everyone is not a realtor just because they're licensed. Like most commercial brokers where I used to come from, they were not a part of the Chicago, so any realtor organization, so they don't abide by the code of ethics.
Sure.
And they are the umbrella organization where if things come down, it starts there. So I don't know if you're reading about the Department of Justice lawsuit that's
Yeah.
out right now. That's Katie Johnson. She's the
Are
attorney.
you talking about the buyer's agent
Yes.
compensation thing? Sure.
Yes, so that's headed by the National Association of Realtors and legal counsel. Katie Johnson, who lives here, very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I should bring her here one day because
Would love to.
I know. I think she lives not far from here, to be quite honest. But they all work in sync. So it's kind of like the Ben Lalez team. And then you kind of sprinkle down into different spheres or buckets, and then it all leads to the bottom, and then it all comes up. So you're like the NAR of your team.
Compass is probably NAR.
Par-
I'm Illinois Association of Realtors.
And
yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, we figured it out. Okay.
Done.
I want to get into some juicy stuff. So it's Black History Month.
Yes.
And
28 days.
Yes. And sounds
Do you
like
know- do you know I
you have some
found out-
thoughts on that.
Well, we all have thoughts, but I actually looked up why it's in February. It was Abraham Lincoln and I think Frederick Douglass' birthday fall this month. That's
Okay.
why. And so I guess they wanted to.
There's a reason.
Yeah, there is a reason, not just because it's the shortest month. Well,
I
that's just amongst my friends. Feel like, why take a month? Let's just do something every day
Yeah.
in our lives to kind of further that and maybe elevate it to another level in Black History Month. Like, actually, I do want to start my YouTube channel this month, things like that. I want, like, a lot of friends of mine, we are doing things this month that we may want to do in our business that kind of is a milestone.
I love it. I have a question on
Sure.
it about Black History Month in general. I feel like it's silly to just confine it to a month, because then everyone kind of like squeezes it in. Like even myself, right? Like we're gonna do something this month to like commemorate it, or like whatever that case may be, but just in February, and I don't think about it much, if I'm being honest, the rest of the year, and that's a potential problem, squeezing it into any month.
So the hope would be that you're doing something meaningful because you want to do it.
It's a reminder for me.
Hopefully, maybe over time, it'll spill over into something that you think top of mind, and then it becomes a part of your business model annually, or just maybe doing things at the end in another month, or like the diversity of your team just kind of seems like, hey, and I would probably pose the question to them: what do you should we do something different?
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting transition, because this is kind of like learning about you. During one of your speeches, I think it was.
I don't give that many speeches. I'm not an orator. During one of my speeches,
you're not a good orator. Get out of here. You're the most natural orator I've ever seen in Chicago, at least.
That gets you out more.
During your acceptance of the presidency at
my remarks,
your remarks, you said that a huge spur for you to want to run for the president were the events of George Floyd.
Correct.
Can you expand on that? And
I sure can.
As president, so like how do you think you can affect change, starting from real estate, and how can we agents also? So like, this is again me learning. How can I disseminate information to my influential group here about how we can help?
Okay, so there's two things. So the one thing was a speech. So I was on the board of directors, and my term was ending, and I had no intention of running for executive team. I did my time, and I think as part of leadership, you have to kind of know, like, when is it time for you to, pull back or just on to the next challenge. I'm involved at all levels, from a volunteer, local, state, and National Association of Realtors. I am because a lot of the policies that come from Washington affect underserved communities that I live and work in, especially when it comes to mortgage rates, things like that. It affects us the most, but we are the least represented. So it was important for me to, A, try to get that message out, and B, just be involved and more informed, which is why I pulled back on the residential part of my business and doing more consulting and work for the government. That being said, I was pulled when it happened. A lot of realtor members were across the state. They were posting some pretty nasty posts. It was very nasty. And so I had exposure to that because they wanted me to sit on some panels with different associations. Because I think in Chicago, even though we're one of the most segregated cities, it's still diverse here. So I can travel 20 minutes anywhere and maybe be in a different neighborhood. And especially from the realtor side of it, there are a lot of different agents from different backgrounds. And so the things they were posting with noose and it was just very racist. And there was nothing in the code of ethics to prevent you from saying that.
To do business.
So seeing how that was, I'm on the board of directors for the National Association of Realtors as well. And so an article was introduced to say, if Ben is out, if we're out chit-chatting or outside of business, you are still under the same, you still wear your realtor hat. And the pushback was crazy. Like that was debated on the floor for over 2 hours. And so I was always like, what do you want to say? Like, we don't want our speech. We don't want to be...
freedom of speech. Well, what the fuck do you want to say?
Yes. And no one could tell me what they wanted to say. And these are people that I knew. And so, I was making a mental note. I'm like, oh, I thought we was cool. And so I took that and said, and I have a mentor outside of real estate. And he was like, well, if you have a chance to be in a form of leadership, as an African-American woman, then win or lose, you should at least try to attempt, because I said, well, it's not my responsibility. And he was like, actually, it is. And so I had to think about that. And then I had conversations with leadership there, just from the time commitment and making sure it was the path I wanted to take, and went for it. And so as president, I do want to see people that look like me and come from where I come from, just a regular background, nothing special, to say, you can do this too, if that's something you want to do. Now, everyone wants to volunteer, but even if you don't volunteer, I mean, like you and I, we met, it was a real producers, and that's how I met Andy Burton. He wanted to get more diverse in his breakfast meetings or his, what do you call it, the real producers meet up, and I would never come. And I kept saying, I need to go. And then I met you, and then you had a whole entourage.
You met me, and you met, more importantly,
Zach. Who's the brains behind this whole operation.
The whole thing, man, yeah.
But it was just like just having a conversation, because I do feel in those, those scenarios.
Can I kind of wrap it in a bow?
Yes.
So what I'm hearing is of course, the president of the Chicago Association of Realtors is I'm
just Sarah Ware, though, on most days.
No, but I'm saying, but it is a prestigious position. However, for younger people, especially people of color and women, like, you don't have to become like the fucking president.
No, you do not.
Like,
everyone doesn't need to be president.
Relatively achievable, high enough profile job, like, and you want to show that
volunteer leadership position.
Okay.
Because people think like, this is my job.
No, you're a real estate agent.
Yes.
Yeah. But you want to be able to show that a Black woman can hold this position. So
Yes, and that I'm approachable, and I think that's just who I am as a person. Because people are like, oh, you're so approachable.
Yeah, you're the most approachable person I know. I met you 4 weeks ago.
And here we are.
Yeah.
I just really wanted to see your podcast set up, though. This is nice. Just to stay on the topic too, and I wanted to kind of meet you and see how you run your team, because traditionally African Americans, we do our dollar volume is lower. And so I said, let me meet Ben to see, is he doing something? Yes, he's in a different market, but can those same tools be translated and a team on another part of town, maybe not a higher price, but
so
duplicated?
Here's okay, let's kind of dive all the way in, because we were talking about this earlier. So I think that a big part of this is, and we talked about it yesterday on that panel, is I run this like a business.
Yes.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I was lucky enough.
Because this is business number 4? I learned that yesterday.
Yeah. I had a business in college, like in the online food ordering business. If I was smart enough, I would be DoorDash. I'm just not smart enough. Then I was
just so close.
A property manager, general contractor, now this.
Okay.
Right?
So you ran all 4 of those?
Yeah, ran all 4 of those. So I was lucky enough, right? I had an immigrant father, and like, he was an entrepreneur, and he's like, don't you ever fucking work for anyone. But I think that's part of it is, immigrants.
Your upbringing.
Mindset. Yes. So I was lucky enough to have that. So to say, is it replicatable? Of course it is. But I had someone like for 30 years saying, don't work for anyone, don't work for anyone, work for anyone. So yes, but I know that there are challenges, especially in the Black community.
Get a job, you go to school, get a job, or you get a good job and you stay there and you retire and you're pension, but you have someone telling you, don't get a job, work for yourself. So sometimes it's like we just need that, either be that nudge, that example. And I guess if we can be examples for people that we know.
Here's the first time where I'm like, okay, I hope I don't fucking put my foot in my mouth. But like what I hear, my perception of the like Black community is there's a lack.
Let's hope we don't put a foot in the mouth.
There's like a lack of like strong, especially male leaders in this space. That's my perception that others can learn from in that capacity. Right now, I have 22 people who are learning from me in a similar capacity.
And I don't want to, especially when it comes to Black male.
Tell me to like, shut up. That's fucking
No,
stupid.
I mean, because my parents are still together. I have 3 brothers.
That's kind of where I'm going. That's what I think.
I have 2 nephews. And so I think I've had all strong Black male figures. And I don't want to perpetuate that there is not that.
So that's the thing is.
I just think sometimes some opportunities are open faster than someone else due to whether that's profiling, whether that's upbringing. And so I think we sometimes have more challenge. We have more challenges based on where we come from just as a culture and just being Black. I could be, Sarah Ware, but because my friends joke about my name, but there are some names that are.
A white name.
Yeah, but they are. Is it though? But yeah,
You said it to me.
But if there's a certain name, you are discriminated against. If now Zoom, I'm hearing Zoom, you are getting discriminated against based on interviews. Because they say, hey, let's hop on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And now even in housing, the Housing Act passed in 1950 plus years ago, and Blacks are worse off now than they were then.
In what regard?
In home ownership and wealth building.
Got it.
And so that's one of the major things in wealth building. So how are you going to attain that if you don't attain the quote unquote American dream.
I'm with you. So, like, rewinding a touch, we were trying to understand a little bit about, okay, you came here to see if this was replicatable.
Yes. Right.
In some capacity. And
right.
why, I have agents of color on my team, like why they're choosing to like work here. And we are one of the major players on the north side. Like, why? And can, people on the south side, especially, black people in the space, can they do the same thing? And we were talking about why,
dollar.
if you're anyone, regardless of race, if you're really good at what you do, you should go where the dollar values are higher.
And eventually, even if you start there, you want to move your price point up.
I want to go to California. If I could replicate this in California where dollar values are higher, that's just good business.
Even for my volunteers, I have to have more than just wanting to volunteer. I have to have a passion, some philanthropic side to give back. And I have to make sure I'm in a financial position. I'm just happy to be in a financial position where that works for me because I can do that based on...
Yeah, you're donating a lot of time.
Yes. And everyone can't do that or wants to do that. And that's no fault to their own. And even on the south side...
Not everyone has the energy like you do.
Orange Theory.
That's it. They actually sponsored this episode.
Club Pilates. Are you serious?
No.
You're sponsored by Orange Theory. Thank you. You have to have the energy, the passion, and having done transactions year after year and putting people in home. It's, you meet people and that cannot be, there's no price on how happy sometimes they are. Like at the closing table, people have cried.
Yeah.
And some of these transactions are tough.
Oh my God.
They are tough and you're not really making a lot of money. And we have, we make the least amount of money on the lower dollar value product.
Yep.
And so should we be mad if agents want to go and increase their dollar per hour?
So here's, again.
But I don't want to say that you can't make money in those neighborhoods because you can. And you absolutely, I've made a living.
Yeah.
Because traffic up north, I don't know how y'all deal with that.
Ultimately, what I'm trying to do here is like show people who look like me.
You just ask the question.
If you have a friend, just like I have other black friends. I'm just like, hey, listen, I need to ask this.
But don't say I have black friends.
Yeah, no, I don't have any black friends.
And one thing that people say that is crazy.
This is a perfect example.
I don't see color. I need you to see my color. I'm good. I like my color.
But like here's an example.
Yeah,
when the whole master bath primary, I'm like, does this? I asked, I'm like, does this actually matter to you? Because where am I supposed to find online or do my own research to know like does this actually fucking matter?
Let me just tell you about that.
Please.
If a company is touting that as their diversity, that should be like number 30 on the list.
Yeah,
so if that's at the forefront, you can tell what their diversity looks like in-house.
Yeah, and I remember I asked this one guy.
Primary.
He's like,
so the other rooms, there's no discrimination. So you can just, no discrimination.
That's it.
No discrimination in that room. But every other room, we took the name away. Now it's like we didn't care. We meaning, we were just like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's like of all the things that you're concerned about.
Can we fix racism in lending first,
right,
please?
like just don't be a racist. How about that?
Yeah, amen. But ultimately, I want to like be able to like. There needs to be more conversation, and I kind of want to stir the pot so people do talk.
More open dialogue and just ask the question, and it's okay. We are different. Embrace your differences, and then you can agree to disagree, and don't be afraid. Yeah, mistakes. But sometimes people are asking not to be curious; they're asking to challenge you. And that's okay, but then you can just weed those out and then you can just choose to figure out where you want to spend your energy or your time and your, as you say, time is money. Why would I waste my time on someone who's trying to not learn about me?
So kind of like tying a bow on like we started with the whole George Floyd becoming president. Because a lot of the people who watch, unfortunately, I'm trying to get to like the end consumer, but fortunately, a lot of agents watch. So what can we as real estate agents, like in a very micro sense, what can we do to like make sure the Black experience in Chicago is equitable?
Well, it probably won't be equitable, but
more equitable.
I just think people need to embrace that they have a bias, everyone. And I think people try to shy away from being biased and just understand that there are things that you don't understand, and maybe it's not meant for you to understand, but if you're curious, ask the question in a situation where it welcomes you, because some people are not as welcoming to answer the question because they may go in with controversy. And I think in both sides, just learn about, because I think we all do ourselves a disservice as real estate agents if we're not learning about the mecca of the city of Chicago. We have 77 wonderful neighborhoods.
This is a perfect transition. Let's talk about redlining in Chicago. So I have a map. We'll pull it up on the actual podcast format, the YouTube.
The heat map.
Yes. So it's like super, super clear. So they have done
statistics. This
is from the 2000s. This is the year 2000. So
I'm sure it doesn't look as much different from before.
No, I don't think so. But it's like very clear. There are black neighborhoods, there are Hispanic neighborhoods, and there are white neighborhoods.
Correct, especially in Chicago.
Yeah. So of the 77 neighborhoods, maybe I can expect it from the president of the Chicago Association of Realtors that you know the history of redlining in the city. Do you?
When they started with contract buying.
Wait, so like, can you give whoever's watching just a short synopsis on?
So because I'm rereading The Color of Law. Heard of that book? Basically, I don't know the exact year, but contract buying was very popular with African Americans, where you would have owners that would own houses predominantly on the south and west side, and they would sell it to to me, it's an African American on contract, and they would pay their money every month. And if you're late one payment, it all goes to the wayside, and it would. Is
it like a rent-to-own style?
It's rent-to-own, yes, rent-to-own, but it was never intended for them to own. So you have the white owner across the street that had a house. Eventually, they sell it for $300,000 to their family, but for us, we'd lose it, and then it was a big thing where
they would hold on to it and do it again.
They would do it again, but they were slumlords. But it was owners that didn't care about the community, not from the community, and they sold it to predominantly African Americans with the hope of dream of home ownership, because it's always been there. And so they'd raise their families, and they were really working 2-3 jobs to pay this note that had exorbitant mortgage rates, and quote unquote mortgage rates. Missed one payment because in the contract, they didn't really read it, didn't understand it. Eventually missed one payment, and they would either have to start all over, they would lose it. So they formed I want to say union or some sort of some coalition where they were going to go against the owners. It worked for some, not for many, but they were scared. And so now we're seeing the effects of the dollar value. So like someone's parents could have owned a house and bought it for $10,000, $15,000, sold it for $300,000. That equity goes to pay for their kids' college, another house.
You can borrow
against it.
Sure.
Where we are so far, we were behind anyway, but places are so far behind, and it predominantly was on the south and west side, which is why it's kind of not as thriving as some of the other neighborhoods. So that was contract buying. So redlining is you need to leave because a certain ethnic group is coming in here, and I'm only going to show you these have you seen the New Jersey report? That was just recently, the New Jersey Realtors.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'll send it to you. Yes, yeah. It's a documentary on how agents, they come in, have a consultation. Someone was asked for a pre-approval.
And it was here.
Or you need to get a pre-approval. Or you need a pre-approval for me to take you out. Another couple in let's go. And this is just like in the last 5 years. This is not like long ago.
But the history of redlining, for what I understand, was
the Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly. A municipal standpoint and from like a governmental standpoint, and yes, agents and politics were, certain people belong here,
yes,
and certain people belong here.
Correct.
And the interesting part, I think, is you only need a short period of time. Like if you can relocate people once, it takes a very long time for people to like disperse again. So and I don't understand like the policy. Do you understand like what the policy was? So we both.
Well, the government is the one that wrote the policy. So the funny part is the government who was writing the laws for mortgage companies were actually writing in redlining clauses. So it was a combination of politics, the mortgage companies, and the local government, they would all get together and they were like, they made the laws for redlining, but then they would say, oh no, we don't need to redline, but they're the ones who put the laws in place.
You almost answered this already. If every realtor was in Chicago was listening to this conversation about particularly redlining and, potentially African Americans not being able to get the same types of loans as, white Americans, what would you tell them?
So I wouldn't want maybe not tell them anything, but I'm hoping that if there's a part of this conversation that has sparked their curiosity, Google it. Like you have to, Google it, find out more. I mean, this kind of piqued my interest. I may go back and look up a few things to find out the history of something, because sometimes when we know our history, then we can move forward, because I think people can't move forward not knowing the history and only being what they're told. But once you dive deep into the history of something and you actually learn the origin of it, it's like, oh, that's pretty interesting. It's not what I thought it was, but maybe I can do better. And once someone asks me, or maybe I can tell them, like, actually, this is how it started. So I think I come from a place of education and learning and knowledge. And so that's my takeaway.
Can I tell you something I've taken away from this conversation?
Please.
It's like I expected this conversation to be more heated, right? I don't know why. I don't know. I've never asked these questions.
And that's good to have an expectation.
How many of your white friends will come and have this conversation?
That is true. Especially on an open mic.
Because I'm trying to not be afraid. Here's me putting my literal money, cost me money to do this, and I'm putting myself at risk, but I'm not afraid. It is what it is. Yeah, it didn't cost you any money, but I have a production setup. I want to show people as a white man in a position of power myself who has some fear.
And it doesn't even have to be from power, just from a position of wanting to know more.
All I'm saying is I have more to lose than two people who are sitting for coffee. Be okay with making some mistakes because, I know this is not about, especially a white, I'm perceived as white even though I'm an Iranian Jew, but I am scared to have these conversations.
Why? Well, I wouldn't say why. It's not an everyday conversation. And so it's okay. And I do appreciate asking the questions.
Yeah. So I think because I
feel like if I have a question, I can ask you because I don't know it all. I'm like, so what does that mean?
I'm telling you, is it true that Jews have all the money and they're control? How do you feel about this trope that the Jews control the media? And I'm happy to have that conversation with you because I get to dispel some of these myths. Right. And I don't know everything either, but if anything, I want people who are watching who've actually made it to minute 55, which is all maybe 6 people.
Oh, is that the
trend?
Yeah.
Okay. It's don't be afraid to make a mistake.
Yes.
And have the conversation, which is kind of what you were saying.
Yeah, just have the conversation.
Educate
because
yourself. Someone
will tell you if they, on either side, I think you would tell me.
Yeah, that's fucked up, Sarah. Don't say that.
Right. I think it's just important to keep the dialogue going. I don't want it to be a one and done conversation because then it looks more check the box. Yeah. But just keep the conversation going and open.
I always tell people it's so strange that ultimately we're this big sale. It is about sales. Yes. But somehow we're marrying ethics and diversity and all of this, and it's a very strange business that way.
Yes.
And equal how we're
trying to.
I am celebrated for doing 150 million, but also make sure that you're doing it in such a way that furthers you're asking a lot from us. I need to make as much money as humanly possible because that's what I'm getting patted on the back for. And I'm also in some way, not that I feel responsible. I feel responsible in my position to help in whatever way I can, housing discrimination. It's very strange.
And how can you do that?
But you too. Right?
Yes, yes.
But why as realtors are...
Yes, and we're just trying to make a living and run a business, but we're asked to do so many different things.
Yeah.
And it's not everyone who takes the call to ring the bell.
Yeah. I don't know why I feel the need. It's almost like trying to prove to myself that it's I shouldn't be scared. Watch me not be scared to have this conversation with,
Were you scared when this came, when you read over the script? Were you a little nervous?
I really wasn't.
Okay.
I've been roasted I may get roasted in the comments.
This is a roasting?
No, I may, in the comments, it's happened before. We did a neighborhood draft, okay?
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, and we got fucking killed.
I was like, where's South Shore?
Yeah. So
I was I saw
I
that.
don't know South Shore. Why would I draft South Shore? I don't spend any time there.
I know you should, but you consult with your team.
So that was the first one we did. So it was me and David Fields who.
Oh no, I saw it.
Yeah, it was. He's
I was doing
arguably the whitest dude on the
R&D.
team. Yeah.
For this podcast.
We came on.
For this
We
conversation.
drafted the stuff that we like. We didn't know.
Or maybe sometime, or that could be one. You grab people from different parts of the city, and
learn about each neighborhood from a neighborhood expert. That's a really good idea.
Well, we have the 77 Diversity Committee on Chicago Association of Realtors, and every neighborhood is assigned to a realtor.
Oh my! You know what would be fun? That's just going extremely light. Is like fine. What neighborhood do you consider yourself a true expert in that you don't think I know about?
South Shore. Mm-hmm.
You bring.
But what's going in South Shore that's coming? What's coming to South Shore?
I have no idea.
The Obama Presidential Center.
Oh, I don't think of that as South Shore. What neighborhood do
You
I
think of it as Hyde Park because everyone doesn't
that's
think
why.
past Hyde Park.
Yeah.
It is South Shore.
Here, how about this? Just super light. Next time we do this, I bring lunch for you from a restaurant that I don't think you fucked with, and you bring lunch, and then I get a taste. I mean, and I get a taste of.
Yeah, because it may not be. It just may be where it's from. Like this is one place, turkey burgers. They hand make them and hand cut the fries. Oh, it's so good. They're about this big.
Yeah, and we rate.
And
them.
I bring for Zach as well.
Yeah, nah. Zach, Zach doesn't eat lunch. Ever.
I know.
Ever.
I know.
That's strange.
But he'll eat my lunch though. Or maybe I'll go to this one place and get you some soul food, macaroni and cheese and greens. Oh,
and then you watch us take a nap immediately
yes,
after. Okay,
I think we all would.
All right. So, I mean, this was a lot. I'm happy we did this.
I like this microphone. I like this setup.
Any closing thoughts?
On this episode of the Ben Lalez Report, we dug in a little deep about race and culture. A little different than what you're used to seeing, but I think it's a good conversation for you to watch.